Hey everybody, I hope that you're having an incredible day and most importantly that you enjoyed your weekend. I know weekends can be pretty short, right? Sometimes we only get 2 days, but the most important thing is it's countdown to the holidays. And so today, I really wanted to talk to you about that. I don't know if you know, but historically, there's been reports that have shown that as the market goes into the holiday season, whether it be a 3-day weekend or holidays, people feel better and therefore the market actually does better. In fact, there was a recent study that was done by a publication out there that showed that the days preceding a big holiday, actually oftentimes you see 10 times the performance that you would a normal business day. So people just feel better. People also don't pay as much attention to the market, which is interesting to note. And so because of that, that also affects market liquidity. So not sure how you want to put 2 and 2 together, but people are feeling better. Traders on Wall Street are feeling better, and people aren't putting as much money into the markets, and they're not paying as much attention to it, and yet we see market performance doing really well. Many of you probably have seen that today, the market has done extremely well. The Dow Jones, as of right now, is up over 200 points. And in fact, it was up over 300 points earlier today. The NASDAQ is doing really well. Part of that is coming because of the tax Senate announcement that we saw last week. But more than anything, I think a lot of it is just coming from typical holiday enthusiasm. So let's talk about something that many of you might have an interest in, which is how did this all come about? How did the stock market begin? Today there was actually a query on one of the Facebook groups I'm a part of, a financial publications group, and there was a big talk today looking for people to talk about how to get people investing, especially those younger people or even older people who haven't invested in the past but who have wanted to invest. How do you go from point A to point B? And so a lot of people were giving suggestions and whatnot, but I think the core belief that I have as a financial advisor of so many years is that people will invest when they're ready to invest. And there's so many feelings behind it. It's not even just that you financially are able to invest, but you have to really be in a mindset that you're ready to invest and that you want to invest. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. In my opinion, you feel a lot better about investing when you know what it is that you're investing in, and more than that you trust that you're going to be okay at the end of your duration of investing, right? Which is very difficult to say because when you go in investing, you know how much money you're putting into the market, but you don't know how much money you're getting out. And there's all these variables. How can you trust what you're investing in when you don't know the companies themselves personally? You're not working there neck to neck with your other employees at a specific company. Are they going to be reporting positive earnings? Are they selling a whole bunch of widgets? It's impossible as a regular investor to know everything about every company that they're investing in. So that's really how the whole Dow Jones Industrial Average came about. And so I want to share that story with you today so you can kind of get a sense of just how long all of this has been in place. Back in the 1880s, there were 2 reporters, one by the name of Charles Dow and the other by the name of Edward Jones. Now, many of you are like, oh, that sounds really familiar. Well, that's because there is still a company called Edward Jones, right? And the Dow himself is Charles Dow. Dow Jones still exists and is a very major financial company even today. But back in the 1880s, these 2 reporters, they used to write these things called flimsies, which were these really short, quick notations on things that were occurring in the stock market at the time, on different companies, what they were reported, and they would literally be handing these out, these little notices out to people on the stock exchange. So it was a very manual process, but these flimsies were these miniature newsletters of what was going on with different companies, what sort of earnings, any changes in management, all that information that you would normally read on the internet that was actually being passed around on these things called flimsies. Then later on, these 2 reporters decided that they would consolidate the information and make it a little bit more efficient. They came up with a publication, I would say, called the Customers Afternoon Letter. So this Customers Afternoon Letter would be then consolidation of all the information that would generally come to the flimsies, and they would come into one piece. And then eventually, this is what became the Wall Street Journal. So from there, the Wall Street Journal was big during that time because, you know, if you think you can't trust the market today, can you imagine trusting the market then, where you really didn't have any information or very limited information unless you were part of this quasi group that was receiving these flimsies or this newsletter, and eventually the Wall Street Journal. Now, the Wall Street Journal was a really big deal back then too, because they were reporting true financial news. They were there to present unbiased true data and get information to not only the investors, but to really bring these two populations together so that the investor felt that they could trust the market, but the market could also, those who were involved in the stock market, could also relay information about why they were a worthy investment, or if there were concerns, that this is information that they could share. So that's how it came to be. And then, so here's the thing, that's what's interesting about it. So then these individuals, these reporters, if you will, then came up with the concept of the Dow Jones Industrial Averages, which is what we are still quoting and talking about today. But back then, and this was in May of 1896, so late 1800s now, they came up with the Dow Industrial Average. At the time, there were only 12 companies that were included in this industrial average. They were the largest companies in every respective industry, except for transportation, and I believe railroads. Could be the same thing, right? But those companies, for one reason or another, were not included in the Dow Industrial Average of the 12 biggest companies in the United States stock market. And from there, they would do an average of those prices of those companies, and that's how they came up with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now, here's an interesting factoid that I thought. So of those 12 companies back in the late 1800s, there's only one left that exists today. Can you guess what that is? But it's General Electric. General Electric is the only company that has survived all these years to 2017 and on that came from the original Dow Jones Industrial Average of the first 12 companies. Most of them either got sold, merged, bought out, or they just don't exist at all today. But that's really what happened. And so from there, the Wall Street Journal evolved. Eventually, they were bought out by other entities. And what we know today is such an evolved version of what it started with. But I thought I would share that with you to give you an idea of just how long the market's been in existence, how long people have been tracking stocks and indices. And so if you are feeling nervous, that nervous feeling of not sure what you're investing in, if you're comfortable getting into certain segments, those are feelings that have been happening in history for so many countless years and will continue going forward. So the most important thing obviously is to get professional advice, make sure you participate and invest for the long term. Nonetheless, I hope that gives you a little bit of insight of just how the Dow Jones Industrial Average all came to be, and a little bit of good news of how historically the markets doing pretty well this time of the year, and hopefully we see more of that activity going forward. Let me know what else you would like to learn because it's all about awareness, about getting you comfortable with investing, getting you comfortable with the markets, and be able to trust the process. Hope that you are doing well, staying safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.